What's going on? It's your boy Sermon, thesermonsdomain.com. Today we're here to talk about Casey Veggies' debut album, Live and Grow. The first thing that I want to talk about with this album isn't even, the music. It's the promo. The promo has been very weak. I'm kind of disappointed in Epic Records, because they did this same kind of push with T Fly, another very talented West Coast artist, earlier this year with his debut album Star. And at this point, I don't imagine Casey's gonna sell a whole lot of records, but he made a really good album. Like, this is probably the next step because that we have that blurred line between mixtapes and albums, and Casey's been one of those artists that's puts out original mixtapes, and they're of quality work. And so for this album, the one thing that is different than the mixtapes to me is that Casey gets real personal with this album, or not too personal, but enough to where it's like it's different than what we've seen in the past. I mean, the intro is "I'm the King," and I believe, if unless I'm wrong here, that's his dad's voice on the track with him, not rapping, but like throwing out a little bit about Casey's life. And his mom does the same thing on the final track called "I'm Blessed," and that was also a standout because that's like the third verse on that particular was Casey Veggies. He basically penned like a letter to his grandmother, and I thought it was real personal and real special, and it sounded good. It was a good way to close the album. Um, and I also got to commend him because he worked with the producers that he wanted and the artists that he wanted to. You don't see any weird collaborations like Dej Loaf is one of the artists that's kind of out of his immediate circle, but she still provides one of the best hooks on the album with Tied Up. And then, aside from that, you got Ty Dolla $ign, you got BJ the Chicago Kid. You got these people that are just, basically Casey Veggies collaborators, for so long, YG, I Am Sue. Um, and it just sounds natural to hear all these names together. Even the production is Hit Boy, who's worked with him in the past. There's Mike and Keys producing one of the best records on the project. Beat wise, is called New Faces. I love that one. There's THC. And even DJ Mustard. And I gotta give props to DJ Mustard because this record in particular does not sound like a DJ Mustard beat. If you listen to Acting Up featuring Dom Kennedy, you're not gonna know it's a DJ Mustard beat unless somebody tells you. Unless I can't remember if the tag's in the beginning. The Mustard on the beat tag is in the beginning. But if it's not, then you're not gonna be able to recognize it because this is like DJ Mustard out of his usual club one-dimensional side, and that's something that I've always liked to see Mustard do because he has that potential to do that. He's been doing that with T Fly and other beats here and there, and I gotta say I like the fact that he kind of that Casey did some singing on a little time was the record he did next to like an uncredited singer. He kind of croons a little. There's a little soft singing, and I thought it was cool. It was experimental, and it worked. I'm not saying, Casey's going to cross over and be like that Drake type, but he definitely doesn't have like that singing in the shower type of voice. If you get what I'm saying, we all sing in the shower. One thing that I didn't really care for on the album was Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg has this minor appearance at the end of Set It Off, and I just don't see any purpose for it. I would have loved to see Snoop have a verse, not just him come out of nowhere for like the last 10 seconds and shout out Casey Veggies, because it just didn't really add anything to the album for me. And the other thing I disliked, which I talked about in the beginning, was the promo. I would love to have seen Epic roll out something better. But again, I guess it is hard to market, artists like Casey. Casey's not somebody who's going to pop overnight, but he's been doing as much as he can with what he has, And I feel like some major label, man, needs to snatch him away from Epic and, do something with him. He's signed to Rock Nation with management, so maybe, that can line up more opportunities along the way. But overall, Live and Grow is a very solid debut album. I recommend checking it out. Go on iTunes, go on Spotify, Apple Music, well, wherever. And when you do listen, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And then like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share the video, follow me on Twitter at Sermons Domain. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your time. And until next time, continue to live and grow. Peace.